Hello and welcome to Valemount Votes, VCTV's series of one-on-one interviews with the candidates for mayor and council for the upcoming municipal election. I'd like to go through the show format a little bit with you so you see where we're going to be going with this. We're going to start with myself reading a biography of the candidate, which the candidates have written. Then we're going to give the candidate an opportunity to make an opening statement. They have up to 3 minutes to do that, and they've written their own statements. From that, we'll be going into questions that you, the viewers, have submitted. We have 7 prepared questions. The candidates have had a chance to see those questions, so they know what's coming, and we'll be able to give you some answers on those. They'll all have a specified time limit to answer those questions. After that, we're going to go to 3 specific questions for each candidate that have been written for each candidate. They have not had a chance to see these, and so this is designed to kind of see how they will react when they don't have prepared answers for a question. From that, we'll go into a closing statement from the candidate. They'll have up to 3 minutes to make a closing statement. So a few notes for this. Just want you to know that this is being shot in a live-to-tape format. That means it's not live. We're not broadcasting live. But we're running right through the interview without stopping, so there'll be no editing to it. So what you see is what you get, so we'll do our best to get through it. I will be monitoring the time. I have a stopwatch here, and we'll be giving the candidates a specified amount of time for each question. They will not be allowed to go over, and they will not be allowed to take any unused time and apply it to other questions or answers. Each candidate's interview is going to air an equal number of times on VCTV, and we'll be airing those on in alphabetical order. And once each interview has run one time on VCTV, we're going to upload all of them as a group to our YouTube channel so you can take a look at them at your leisure. All right, so we'll start by welcoming Peter Reimer, who's our guest today. Peter Reimer, BTH, is a chartered insurance professional, notary public, vice president and general manager of Underwriters Insurance Brokers in Valemount. He is married to Pat, who taught school here for 18 years. They also own Urban's Park and Campground. They have 2 daughters who are married to great son-in-laws. One lives here, the other in Vernon, and they have 1 granddaughter. Peter was born June 22nd, 1949, just east of Hamburg, Germany. His parents were Mennonite refugees from the area of Gdansk, Poland. They emigrated to Canada in 1951 and were sponsored by MCC. Peter completed most of his schooling in Winnipeg and attended Daniel McIntyre High School. He earned a Bachelor of Theology degree at Winnipeg Bible College and Northwest Baptist Theological College. He's been in the insurance business for 38 years. He and Pat purchased the insurance agency in Valemount in 1989, and in 1993, he passed the required exams to be a notary public in and for the province of British Columbia. He has board experience, having served on a few church boards and some as treasurer and chairman, and was president of the Valemount Chamber of Commerce for 2 terms. Peter Reimer, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. So,
nice to be here.
Great. What we're going to do first is we're going to allow you up to 3 minutes to make an opening statement, and you can begin anytime you're ready. Talk right directly to that camera.
Great. Well, the opportunity to run for council is a democratic privilege that we enjoy in our country, and that's almost too basic and certainly not a personal statement, but we do not have to stand in the streets of our towns and cities as they have had to do in Hong Kong recently in order to have a voice in how we are governed. And so with that privilege, I'm a businessman in Valemount, and I've had the benefit and experience of being able to meet a lot of challenges while managing a successful and profitable business. And given that opportunity, if elected, I believe the experience and education from being in business for all of these years can be helpful in our community. So managing a village is a business, and it is a competitive business, and it should be a successful and profitable business as well. And if it is not successful, then we're in a dying community. So I enjoy living here, and I would like to continue to enjoy living here and help make it an enjoyable place for other people to live. So I'm offering my experience in business to help provide wise counsel for the next 4 years for a successful future for our town.
Great. Thank you very much. So we're going to move into now the question period. We have a number of questions, 7, that have been submitted by the viewers, and you've had a chance to look them over. The first question is on economic development, and you're going to have up to 9 minutes to answer this question. It's an important issue for Valemount, a lot of questions with regards to this. And the question is, what is your strategy for strengthening Valemount's economy? How would you attract more businesses and development to Valemount?
Well, I'm going to interpret the question to mean basically how do we support and maintain what we already have, first of all. And actually our economy has a lot of things going for it, just as it is. For a small community, the big factor that I believe has kept us open is a diversity that we have here. And it's this diversity that can help us keep our economy strong so that we're never really totally dependent on any one industry. And not that these are in any specific order, but we have tourism, we have recreation, forestry, CN, highway maintenance, highway right-of-way maintenance, geothermal, heli skiing, farming, even though it's a small part. But all of these together allow us to have the retail stores, the medical facilities, the restaurants, motels, service providers that we have in our community right now. So how can these be strengthened? Well, I think fundamentally and basically we can strengthen some of these by being thankful and appreciate what we have here. The best way, I think, to actually support what we have here is finding a way to support them, whether that be personally or whether it be corporately or as a village. And instead of complaining perhaps how much things might cost, or always comparing things to what we could get at Costco, you know, see if what we can do here to support what we have.
Right.
For example, if we want white socks, which we could not buy here 2 years ago, now there is someone in town where we can buy white socks. So if we want to buy white socks, have we gone there to buy white socks? So we need to let the rest of and we also need to let the rest of the province in Canada know where we are. And we've been getting better on it. We're, you know, if we watch Global BC, we're on the weather. So people used to ask me where's Valemount? Well, if they watch Global BC TV news, especially in the mornings, Valemount appears on the weather map. And so we know where Valemount is. We have more highway signage exposure between here and Kamloops that I've noticed in the last number of years. We could perhaps use one more closer to Kamloops, but we have that, so at least we're on the name. And I noticed recently, a few weeks ago, that we have a big billboard east of Edson, which talks about Valemount and the opportunities we have here for recreation. So all of these are very positive and necessary to strengthen our economy here. We also, I think, need to keep Valemount front and center in our provincial offices and remind them that a thriving, vibrant community close to the junction of Highway 5 and 16 is one of the best ways of introducing and welcoming tourists to our great province. I think we're in a tremendous location to take advantage of that kind of thing and to give people a good first impression.
Right.
Because first impressions make so much difference.
Mm-hmm.
If you come into a place and it's a shambles, you kind of say, well, I guess I'm not going here. So, so we have an opportunity to make first impressions. We have an opportunity to make last impressions as people come up the other way and go over to Alberta. If so many people, I think, drive through here and don't take the time to stop and actually appreciate what we actually have, you know, and so finding ways to keep people here a little bit longer and enjoy the opportunities that we have here is something that we need to continually be doing. It's not just a one-time thing. I think we have an opportunity for the with the Glacier Mountain Development Resort to attract more people here and to keep more people here, and to certainly by that also to strengthen our local economy by that. And it seems one way that we can also strengthen our local economy is by making sure we don't lose sight of what we already have and strengthening that. For example, having the opportunity to increase our annual allowable cut for Valemount Forest, so that we can maybe eventually get another processing facility here to process some of the materials. So those are all things that would help strengthen our economy as it is right now. I think we have a great and continuing opportunity not only to grow, but to think global and act local. And I know that's been used in different settings, but I think we have that opportunity, and we can be in a situation where we don't have to sacrifice profit or environment to achieve that.
Right.
I think the other part of that, how do we attract more business, is we need to be attractive. I think that's fundamental. We need to be attractive. We need to be pleasant. We need to be positive people. And in that regard, it's not just council. It's not just one person on council. It's not just a handful of people. It's all of us together that want to live here and that want to make this place home. To be attractive, to be pleasant, to when customers come into our businesses, that we treat them with respect, decency, pleasure, that we're happy that they're there, and that we're capable, and that we do things right. So in order to be successful and to attract successful people, we're going to have to be really, really good, and maybe better, because there's other places that they can go.
Right.
We have to be experts. We have to be craftspeople, and we have to be focused, and we have to understand our customers better than anybody else. So those kind of things mean that we need to continually upgrade our knowledge, our education, and every profession, every discipline these days has continuing education.
Right.
Knowing our business, keeping in touch with things, being professional is a major factor in attracting new business. Success breeds success, as we used to say, and still say.
About 1 minute.
Okay. So I think some of the things that we can do from a council perspective for attracting new business, quit being nitpicky. Things like, for example, scrap the $20 signage fee, make decisions carefully, but get the facts and get things processed quickly when somebody wants to do something, and make sure that we have the latest technology available to us. Keep the power switch on, keep the hydro flowing, and forget about parking bylaws. We can work our way through the parked trucks and parked trailers and everything else, and let them know that they want to come back here and spend their money.
Okay, great. Well, you're exactly on time for that. We're going to move on to the second question here, and that deals with village infrastructure. And the question on this one, if I can just reset my timer quickly here, is what is your opinion on infrastructure maintenance in the village? In particular, the repair and maintenance or replacement of known concerns prior to, rather than waiting till things break or become a problem and result in more expensive emergency repairs and damage. Do you plan to make it an important part of the budget? You have 3 minutes for that one.
Well, I think I kind of know where this question may have come from perhaps. But, you know, there's a saying, Gordon, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And this isn't rocket science. Another way we used to say it is if you can't afford the gas, you can't afford the car. So what are we really saying here? Certainly it seems inconceivable to me that we would not maintain the infrastructure that we've spent millions of dollars to build. And if the question arises out of what the situation that recently happened out of a lift station, causing sewer backup to a number of residences along 9th and 8th Avenue, then yes, that is a huge concern. That we could imagine that this problem need not have happened if there would have been proper maintenance on that lift station and proper repairs done in time so that this wouldn't have happened. Now we have a very expensive situation. We still have to repair or replace whatever is broken, but we also have the replacement of people's belongings, the repair to develop basements, the cost of extra living expenses, the additional cost of insurance going forward for those who are affected, who've had to submit claims to their insurance companies, the cost of adjusters, the legal costs, and perhaps even difficulty for some people to obtain the kind of insurance that they want in the future,
Right.
or for us as a community, a village, to get the kind of insurance that we want. And, you know, if these are factual things, then in my mind, this is almost negligence and could affect us even more than what we really want to think. So whether it's this or whether it's with our water supply, the pumps in our water system, if they need to be serviced and maintained and repaired and replaced, then we need to do that, because if our pumps quit and we don't have water, we're unprotected. We don't have any fire protection. So the bottom line is, I'm surprised that we even need to discuss this, because we're not maintaining what we have. And not only is that poor stewardship, it's a serious breach of responsibility that can cost us all in ways that we don't want to think about. So absolutely, there needs to be a budget item in every year's budget for preventative maintenance and repair. It's prudent and it's expected as part of accountability.
Okay, great. Next question deals with parking, and you kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of your answer on economic development. And it's a two-part question, so we're going to give you a little bit longer to answer. This deals with parking in the wintertime and parking in the summertime here in Valemount. So the winter part of this question, and you can split it up however you want in terms of time. The winter question is, when the village plows the snow, it makes a ridge and trucks and trailers have to park on the street, and it makes for a tunnel going down 5th Avenue. Last year, someone almost hit 4 sledders because they came out from between the trucks and the trailers, and very hard to see them. Now, how is the village council going to fix the parking problem on 5th Avenue that we have during the winter?
Well, I'm not sure that village council can fix this. This is an issue of density. And development was approved on 5th Avenue by previous councils based on parking models of so many spaces for cars. Probably not even for pickup trucks, probably. So it appears there was, it appears as if there was probably no thought of providing enough room for trucks and trailers loaded with snowmobiles on 5th Avenue when the approvals were given for development of motels or whatever. And it appears that there was no thought given of motorhomes and trucks with fifth wheels driving into our downtown area and negotiating parking and stopping to shop. So our downtown parking problem, the access road and 5th Avenue at the entrance, is all related because we've overdeveloped without being aware of the customers we're serving. And if Tim Hortons were to build across from the A&W, we have even more of an issue with parking. And part of this could be solved, but it's going to come at a price tag, and I don't think it's for the village necessarily to solve, but there are empty spaces that could be utilized right now to alleviate some of the parking issue. But it'll require investment. It's not something that's an easy fix.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be fixed, but at this point the problem is not easily fixed by the village. The planters on Fifth Avenue, they look nice. But my preference when this was all done a few years ago would have been just trying to open up more space on our street between Cedar and Dogwood rather than limiting it or encroaching it. I mean, McBride has lots of room on their main street and it looks good and it's easy to maintain. You know, being able to run a grader, for example, all the way down Fifth Avenue would clear snow more quickly and perhaps wouldn't leave the ridges piled up. So many times I've wished that a grader would just put their blade down and take out the planters. That would solve some of the problems there. And you know, the wall's limiting the access to downtown parking.
Right.
We made the decision not to have a wall in our place so that we could have a parking lot so that people wouldn't have to park on our street.
Right. I want to just interrupt you for a second. You've only got 2 minutes left. I want to make sure you have time to answer the summer part. You kind of touched on it a little bit. The summer part of this question is, it's a well-known fact that we have a major parking crisis in the downtown core when it comes to accommodating tourists and travelers with oversized vehicles, such as RVs, trucks, and trailers. So what measures would you personally implement to alleviate the problem?
Yeah, I say I've touched on that because I said the motorhomes and RVs in the summer. There are some places, you know, that where they could park, but it'll have to take a little bit of negotiating. But, you know, short-term solutions, this could be take out a few of those no posts on Fifth Avenue and provide some parking. The trail doesn't get used that much in the wintertime. In the summer it gets used, so put the thing back. Other short-term solution, you know, I don't know, leave the parking tickets in our pockets. Let's not take it out on the public that doesn't live here for the problems that we've created ourselves. There are many other places that people in motorhomes and RVs can go. There's many other places that they don't have to shop here, they don't have to buy stuff here. So if we want them here, we're going to have to find our own solutions to the problems that we've created. And we should, you know, accommodate that and not dig in their pockets for extra things.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move on to a question that's, again, kind of a two-part question. It deals with water meters in Valemount and the potential installation of smart water meters if they do go ahead with water meters, as been discussed. So two questions. First of all, water meters in general. Do you feel water meters are a necessity for Valemount, and why or why not?
Yeah, so why do we need water meters? I think on the surface, this seems like a very unnecessary intrusion into our lives once again, and we may not like the idea of yet another regulated device in or around our homes and businesses. But this is almost a loaded question in a way due to the fact that there may already be a plan in the village office to roll out a water metering program for the whole village. Based on a 2012 report that was done by Urban Systems, which recommends the implementation of water meters community-wide, with the village picking up grants, I suppose, of 50% of the estimated cost of $431,000, or perhaps more now, and presumably the balance coming from the taxpayer. So if we could count on each other not to waste our water, perhaps the push from different governing levels, which as far as I can see is is global as well as regional and provincial, we wouldn't need to be discussing this issue. But can we count on each other to be responsible for the way that we use our water? And the argument for water meters, whether or not they are smart meters, which is kind of a different question, are that they would encourage a reduction of the use of our water, that we wouldn't tend to waste as much if we're wasting it. And the other argument is that the cost distribution would be more equitable, so that if you had a swimming pool in your yard and you were filling your swimming pool, that I wouldn't be paying the same as you were.
Sure.
And I only had a little garden space, or didn't have anything to use my water on. So that's a kind of equity. So any reduction in the overall water usage would also save power and energy, both as it gets delivered to the home and as it gets taken out of the home and over to the sewage system. So, it would also be a social benefit for having water meters, so that we would be seen to be responsible partners in a regional and provincial and global sense. Right. When so many places in the world, the number one issue for them is water. We're privileged in this country. We have so much. And we almost take it for granted that we have water coming so readily. And yet we could also be in the same position. We can't take it for granted. Right. So first of all, if we're going to meter in Valemount, I don't think, given our current situation, income levels of the people that live here, that we could ask people to dig into their own pockets and pay for the installation of water meters. I don't think that's going to fly. The cost would have to come 100% from somewhere else to install the water meters. Whether or not they're smart meters or other meters, not everybody is affected by the MRIs of smart metering. Some people are, and those that have issues, health issues, I think BC Hydro has said.
Well, we have only 1 minute left in this section, so I do want to ask you specifically about smart meters.
Yes.
The question is, how do you feel about smart meters? Are you aware of the concerns,
yes,
the mounting concerns regarding health, security, and privacy? And do you know what the alternatives to them are?
Well, yeah, I think some people are very sensitive health-wise to these things. Other people, that wouldn't faze them. I mean, we live with we live with all kinds of things. We have our cell phones with us probably more than not, and they're in our pockets and all over the place. So it doesn't necessarily affect every person the same. For those who have health issues, BC Hydro has proved that now you don't have to have smart meters in your home for hydro. And
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop you there. We're out of time on that one.
Okay.
We're going to move on now to a question, again, kind of a two-pronged question, very, very much related. And this is on youth center / community center / activities for children and youth. You're going to have up to 5 minutes to answer both of these sections. So the premise is that there are not many things for children to do here, children and youth to do here in Valemount. And the first question, part of the question is, where do you stand on creating a community center or youth center for Valemount?
Well, I think that the matter of not having a lot of things for children and youth to do is partly a generational thing. And by that I mean it's the number of children and young people in a specific age group varies from time to time, and it changes. It's fluid. Compared to a bigger center, where there are arcades, bowling alleys, theaters, swimming pools, shopping malls. Valemount doesn't have much to offer in that respect. However, both our daughters grew up here, and both worked through all of these things. And I can't recall that they were ever really bored, and both of them did well in school. And over the years, there have been, quote unquote, youth centers, as it were, and there have been activities that children and young people have been able to participate in. Examples, chess programs in the elementary school. Maybe not for everybody, but there are opportunities there. Curling. Some of the kids went over to the curling rink and learned that. We had a teacher here who voluntarily coached mountain biking, and our mountain biking team did excellent in first place on some of these things. So, and some of these things come and go. Perhaps now there aren't as many kids that want to do mountain biking and other things. Right now, for example, Marion Plummer is doing a youth group. I think Conrad Bursma is involved in the Rangers. So there's opportunities there for young people in that. When Canfor sold the sawmill, they donated money for playground equipment, for our playground. So creating any type of new facility that can be used, such as a spray park or wading pool, would be great. But I think it has to be done right. And once built, it has to be maintained. And if we can't find enough money in our budget to maintain our sewer lift station, how are we going to maintain anything else that we build? And that's a question, really, that I think we all need to understand. So we have built a skateboard park. Is it being used? I'm not sure how often it's used, but an example of once that something like this is built, if it's not used, it becomes another maintenance issue. So I think we need to be careful with what we build and what we do. Use the resources we have available. I'm open to seeing what opportunities that we can create or do and enhance the quality of living for the children and young people that live here.
Now, we didn't really talk, I mean, you briefly mentioned it, but I didn't get to the second half of the question, which was, where do you stand on creating a spray park, wading pool, or some other kind of water-based activity for recreation for children in the summer months?
Yeah, again, I'm open to that, if that can be incorporated. And say, bear in mind, though, that if we do that, that it has to be maintained. And who's going to maintain it? And because otherwise it becomes another place where garbage and things can accumulate, or the water becomes stagnant, or whatever. Somebody has to maintain it, and these are things that we need to address and look at, because otherwise it becomes more of an eyesore than attraction or a benefit.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving into our sixth question. This one we're going to give you 3 minutes for, and it deals with the subject of communication. And the question is, communication is key to learning what is of importance to the constituents, not only during the campaign, but also after the dust is settled. If elected, how will you communicate with constituents to learn of their concerns, and how will you relay this information back to council?
One of my fears is, should I be elected, is that after 4 years, I will not have walked the talk. Getting out and meeting people, allowing consensus, allowing input, listening, and especially in the areas that I'm not familiar with. It's very important, it's very necessary. None of us are an island. God gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth. That means that I should be listening twice as much as what I'm talking. And by listening, it means that I listen with understanding of what is being said, and listen carefully. I know a common criticism of any elected person is that they appear to have their own agenda once they get into a position or an office, and they only kind of surface when it comes to election time. I hope and pray that this won't be true for me if I'm elected, that I will, during that time, always be able to make myself available. And as long as I'm able to work, Gord, I would like to keep on working and stay involved in the business that I am currently in. That means when I'm in Valemount, I'll be at my office. And usually when I'm in town, I walk to the post office every day and walk back. So you'll know where I am. You know where to find me. My email address won't change. So you can send me an email. So keep it polite.
Mm-hmm.
And my cell phone won't change. But just one thing, I'm only one voice on the council. 25%. 75% I'm not responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my wish.
Okay, great. And the last question we have for you that have been submitted by the voters, by the viewers, is on the topic of diversity. And you're going to have up to 3 minutes for this one as well. And the question is, how do you feel about working hard to increase diversity in our village? For example, attracting persons of differing sexual orientation, race or religion, persons with disabilities, refugees, etc.
Okay. I think for the size of our community, we don't have to take a back seat. And I think we're on track for being an example of diversity. We have or have had foreign students in our high school, both that have paid and have been on student exchange. We have people who work here from various parts of the world. There's people here from Mexico, from Japan, from China, Korea, India, Mauritius, West Indies, Europe, and different parts of Europe, and also from the Middle East, from different countries. And so we have diversity in ownership of businesses. We have terrific South African doctors. We have people who live and work here who have differing sexual orientation. And I think and I hope that we treat each other with respect and courtesy that we expect others to treat us with. And, you know, love your neighbor as yourself goes a long way. Mm-hmm. And I hope and pray that the events of the last few days will not make us so fearful or so introspective that we put up walls of resistance or sacrifice the freedoms that men and women have over the years fought so hard for. God keep our land glorious and free. And that includes Valemount.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Thoughtful answers. I appreciate you taking the time to give thorough answers to those questions. So we're going to move into some questions that we prepared for you specifically. And you're going to have 3 minutes to answer each of these questions. And the first one is kind of a general question, and that's for those people who don't know Peter Reimer. What work and life skills and attributes would you bring to council specifically? In other words, if this was a job interview, why should the voters hire you for this position? So go ahead.
Well, this is a job interview. Yes, quite frankly. I've always thought about it as being a job that I would apply for. So, like I've said in in the introduction that you read and so forth, I have 38 years of experience in the insurance business. I've owned and managed a successful business in this community for 26 years. I'm a notary. I had to pass qualifying exams in order to do that. Those relate to legal issues. They deal with property. They deal with things that we deal with managing a community all the time, in terms of property, in terms of issues around property. So all of these things I'm familiar with from a business point of view, and it would be translating my experience on the business side into the management of our local community, and the education that I've received and the exposure that I do a lot of traveling. I see a lot of how other communities do it. I like some of the things that I see in other places, and wonder, can we do some of that here? So with that experience and the openness to learn and to bring that experience into here and guide the next few years of our development.
What type of personal attributes, you've talked a lot about your business experience and your life experience, what type of personal attributes would you bring as a councillor?
Well, enthusiasm for and positiveness. My willingness to learn, to be open to seeing things in differently than what I think. I think it's also a people kind of business, and I think I've related well to people over the years, and I appreciate having the opportunity to serve people in what I do.
Great. That's all the time we have for that question. I know that's always the one that when I went on job interviews was the stumper, is why hire me? So it's not the easiest question to answer, especially when you don't know it's coming. Okay, second question for you is, when you ran for council during the last election campaign, you stated, when we conduct our local village business in a positive way, selling the idea that if we are successful, then our whole province is successful, we will be closer to achieving the kind of results that will help all of us meet the issues that we have. So the question for you is, after making that statement, is, do you feel that the current mayor and council have been conducting local business in a positive way in this last 3 years? And if what changes would you make to that, if any, to the way they conduct local business?
Wow. I'm not here to judge how our current council has fulfilled their mandate. Far be it from me to do that. I'm responsible for what I do and what I bring to the table. I think they've probably done some very positive things. I think over the last few years we've had a few positive things. There've been some businesses that have reestablished and opened up, which appear to be doing fairly well. I think there's been an openness on part of the present council to make sure and work with some things. So, for example, we've got using a building on Fifth Avenue for a church building. It fits into the zoning, even though our wording on some of our zoning things isn't exactly stating that, but the council's been open to seeing that there's room to be flexible. So I think they've been flexible. I think that's been positive. Mm-hmm. as I say, I think they need to they need to look at their own track record.
Right. Well, let's focus on the other side of that question then. What changes would you make, should you be elected, to that aspect of providing a positive way of dealing with local business issues?
Well, I think one of the things that that we talked about in terms of communication is, I hope I'm more visible. Now, maybe some of the councillors have been more visible to some other people in the community, but I hope that that one of the things that I can do is be a little bit more visible. And I think I've already indicated I'm not planning on quitting my walks. I'm not planning on changing my email or my cell phone. I'll be around, and I want to still go out and talk to people and meet people, and hopefully that will be a change. I haven't seen a lot of that personally, and hopefully that I'll be able to do that.
Okay, great. Our time's up for that one. And last question, again, which you'll have 3 minutes for, is as a business owner and operator here in Valemount, you understand what it takes to run a successful business. If elected to council, what idea or ideas would you bring to the corporation of the Village of Valemount, which is a corporation, that would help local businesses specifically? Not talking about attracting businesses, yep, for local businesses that are existing.
Well, I mentioned already, don't turn the power switch off. We still have times when the power goes off at the most inconvenient time. And I don't know whether this is still possible. I believe it is possible that we can get access the power that is in the system that was built on the river project to be our backup power. There's been I think the attitude that we shouldn't be turning that on unless the power is going to be out for 24 hours. But I think it's extremely difficult, even if the power is off for 3 or 4 hours, to, if it's over lunchtime or dinner time, overnight, that shuts down our restaurants, that shuts down our motels, that shuts down our bank, that shuts down our insurance office. That basically shuts our whole community down. Right. The stores are closed, the post office is closed, everything is closed. And I think we need to find a way to keep that power on and do it as quickly as possible after we have a power outage. Now, if it's only going to be out for 20 minutes or something like that, we can probably live with that. But any longer than that, it becomes a serious issue, and it's a waste and it's an expense that we have issues with. I think the other thing is, like that I've stated, the problems that have been created because of the density that we've allowed. We shouldn't take that out on our customers. And let's give our customers a break and find a way to work around the density that we've created and see what we can do with that so that we don't lose the business that we have and that we've worked hard to develop. So these are things that are important. I think the experience and the opportunity I've had to be in the insurance business for so long, I think can help, hopefully, with dealing with some of our other issues and making sure that we have a community that we're not having issues with in the rest of the corporate world. Right. And other government. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much. That's our time for the questions.
And thank you again for the excellent responses. We're going to give you 3 minutes now to make a closing statement, just as you did your opening statement. And whenever you're ready, you can just look right at that camera and begin.
So I'd like to thank you, Gord, for taking the time to host this time for our community television and give people an opportunity to get to know us better. And you've made it kind of easy to connect. Thank you very much for that. This really is a job interview, as Gord has said, and now it's up to you as a voter to decide whether or not I would fit the model of who you would like to see in the office of council for the next 4 years. So please take the time to vote this year and uphold the freedoms of a democratic process that allow us all to have a voice at the table of our local government. God bless you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to just take a few moments now to give people some information on voting before we wrap up. So just so you're aware of the details. So of course, Election Day is Saturday, November the 15th. The location will be the Valemount Community Hall, 101 Gore Street, right next to VCTV. Voting times will be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Advance voting will be available, and the advance voting date is Wednesday, November the 5th, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. as well, but it will be at the Village of Valemount Council Chambers. So advance voting on November 5th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Village of Valemount Council Chambers. And this time, for the first time, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be using electronic voting machines. And I wanted to provide a little bit of information because I know that a few people are afraid of that, and they're a little bit nervous about using the new technology for this. So I've got some information that's been provided by the elections people, and I thought I'd give you a chance to hear it and see, maybe alleviate some of those concerns. Electronic voting machines are accurate, simple to use, and can provide final election results within minutes after the close of voting. You go to the voting booth and make your choices. They're going to give you a special pen to use for that, and then just follow your instructions on the ballot like you normally would. Once you're done, you take your ballot and you feed it into the electronic machine, and the machine will tell you if your vote is accepted or not. If there are questions with the ballot, the machine will notify you and give you the option of submitting the spoiled ballot if you've chosen to spoil a ballot, and that's your right, or an undervoted ballot, again, your right to do it, or it'll give you the option to correct it if you want. The only option the machine won't allow you to do, I understand, is to overvote, and that's to fill in more candidates than you're allowed to. And there will be a machine attendant there at the polling station to assist you if you have a problem. So you're not just going to get thrown in and asked to do it for the first time with no instructions. Somebody will be there to help you. Apparently, it's far simpler to use the voting machines than a bank ATM machine. The machine's also going to be on display at the All Candidates Forum, which is on October 30th at the Valemount Secondary School at 7 p.m. And so the staff will be there with the voting machine to demonstrate it for you, to show you how it works, and to answer any questions, if you will. And Peter, I want to thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And for taking the time to review the answers, and good luck with the campaign.
Thank you very much.
And thank you again.
All right.